Picture this. It's September 1939, and German forces have just defeated the Polish army in a mere 2 weeks. Almost immediately, Jewish families are ordered to register. We're talking about more than 10,000 people arriving in Krakow every single day, completely stripped of their homes, their businesses, and their basic human rights. Literally, private property just ceased to exist for them. Their entire reality changed overnight. But right in the middle of this absolute darkness, a really unlikely figure emerged.
He who saves one life saves the world entire. This powerful Talmudic phrase really serves as the definitive weight for every single decision, every bribe, and every risk in the incredible chronicle of survival that follows. It highlights a profound human transformation that honestly defies all the logic of war.
Invasion in the ghetto. So, our story begins right in the epicenter of the collapse of Jewish Krakow, which was a vibrant community with 6 centuries of history that is suddenly on the verge of being completely erased.
Following that rapid invasion in September 1939, things hit a total point of no return on March 20, 1941. That's when Jews are forced into a walled ghetto. We're talking about just 16 crammed blocks south of the Vistula River, and they have to somehow endure life behind these walls through the bitter, freezing winter of 1942. Now, stepping into all this chaos is a man with a Nazi party pin, immense charisma, and pretty much just one single ambition: to make an absolute fortune while the war lasts. That man is Oskar Schindler, and he arrives as a pure, unapologetic opportunist.
Here's the thing. Schindler needs Jewish investors to buy an enamelware factory, but they aren't legally allowed to own businesses anymore. So he offers them a super cold, pragmatic deal. They provide the money, he legally owns the factory, and he pays them back in pots and pans. When Schindler argues that, money is still money, the investors correct him immediately. They tell him, no, not anymore. In the ghetto, the only thing of value is what you can trade. Official currency is essentially worthless behind those walls. Physical goods you can use on the black market, that's literally the only way to survive. Schindler's factory. Schindler sets up the Deutsche Immowaron factory to churn out enameled utensils for the military. But to make this operation truly lucrative, he needs cheap labor.
And this all comes down to the cold, hard math of war. Let's be clear. Schindler doesn't start hiring Jews out of the goodness of his heart. They are just the cheapest option available. Polish workers cost more, and you have to pay their wages directly to them. But a skilled Jewish worker? That only costs 7 marks a day, and that money goes straight to the SS. The Jewish worker gets absolutely nothing. So in these early days, Schindler's motivation is just 100% transactional and capitalist.
But entirely behind Schindler's back, his Jewish accountant, a man named Itzhak Stern, starts using the factory as a secret haven. Stern starts forging permits, handing out what's called the Blauschein. It's this blue card for essential workers, and he's giving it to rabbis, musicians, historians, and the elderly. Out on the streets, if you didn't have this blue card, you were getting loaded onto a truck and executed. It was a death sentence. Stern knows that magically converting these highly vulnerable people into essential metal workers is the only way to keep them alive. The Plazow camp. Whatever fragile, terrifying stability existed in the ghetto shatters completely on March 13, 1943. The ghetto is brutally liquidated, and its residents are dragged off to forced labor. This new camp brings a new commander, Emin Goeth, and the conditions under his watch, they are a nightmare of absolute terror. Goeth will literally just shoot prisoners from the balcony of his villa with a rifle. No provocation, no rules, just pure arbitrary murder. Now, Schindler observes this senseless execution and brutality from a distance during the ghetto liquidation, and it triggers a massive psychological shift in him. The opportunist finally starts to see the true unvarnished face of extermination.
In a really desperate attempt to kind of curb the massacre, Schindler tries to play mind games with Goeth. He knows Goeth associates arbitrary murder with control, right? So Schindler completely reframes the idea for him. He tells him power is when we have every justification to kill and we don't. It's this fascinating, subtle move to try and inject mercy into the mind of a psychopath by redefining what true power really is, even if, tragically, the effects on Goeth are pretty short-lived.
The creation of the list. By April 1944, the orders changed drastically. The SS commands Goeth to exhume and incinerate the bodies of over 10,000 dead. This is the signal, the impending end. All remaining living prisoners are going to be sent to Auschwitz. Schindler absolutely refuses to let his workers go to their deaths. So he comes up with this incredibly bold plan to move his factory to his hometown of Brunlitz in Czechoslovakia. But to pull this off, he literally has to buy them. Picture this. Schindler is sitting with Stern,
chain smoking, just dictating names from memory. Stern is furiously typing out the names of over 850 individuals. And for every single name typed on that page, Schindler is bribing officials, paying an absolute fortune straight out of his own pocket to the Reich.
As Stern types those final names, it hits him. This piece of paper is the exact, literal border between survival and the gas chamber. He looks at Schindler and says, "This list is an absolute good. This list is life. All around its margins lies the gulf." Think about that. The immense wealth Schindler so coldly accumulated at the start of the war, he is now spending it down to the very last penny just to rescue human beings.
Surviving Auschwitz. Now, the logistics of this transfer are massive and totally chaotic. The men are boarded onto one train, the women onto another, and they're all expecting a short, safe journey to the new factory.
But what happens when the train goes to the wrong destination? Somewhere in the regime's massive bureaucracy, a terrifying error happens. The women's train is diverted directly to Auschwitz. The moment they arrive, they're forced to undress, their hair is shaven off, and they're pushed into these subterranean shower rooms. Now they know the rumors of the gas chambers, so the fear here is absolute. Even though it's just water that falls from the shower heads this time, the threat of extermination is imminent. It is overwhelmingly real.
When Schindler finds out, he refuses to surrender them. He literally travels to the very gates of Auschwitz to confront the bureaucracy of death head-on. He uses portable wealth, literally handfuls of diamonds, to bribe the camp commander to buy back his workers. And he is adamant. He specifically demands his women and children, insisting they are absolutely essential to polish the interior of artillery shells. He flat out refuses substitute prisoners. Against all impossible odds, he pulls them back from the brink of death.
Liberation and legacy. Finally reunited at the factory in Brunlitz, the workers spend the next 7 months in relative safety. And get this, during this entire time, Schindler's munitions factory intentionally fails to produce a single working artillery shell. He purposely sabotages the machines and spends millions buying shells from elsewhere to pass off as his own. He completely bankrupts himself to keep his workers alive.
Then, a midnight radio broadcast changes everything. The German forces have surrendered. The war is over. But ironically, this victory means immediate danger for Schindler. As a munitions manufacturer and a known Nazi party member, he has to flee as a war criminal from the advancing Soviet army, just as his workers are finally getting their freedom. Right before he leaves, his workers give him a letter of explanation signed by everyone and a gold ring that they secretly forged from their own dental fillings.
This moment of farewell just completely breaks him. Looking at his fancy car and the gold pin on his lapel, Schindler collapses in grief. His mind is just racing, calculating exactly how many more lives he could have bought with those things. He weeps, saying, "I could have gotten more out. This pin, 2 people, 1 more person, Stern." All that material wealth he ruthlessly chased in the beginning meant absolutely nothing compared to the priceless value of a single human being he couldn't save.
Yet the reality of what he actually accomplished is just staggering. By exhausting his entire wealth and sacrificing his future, Oskar Schindler saved 1,100 lives. To put that number into perspective, currently there are fewer than 4,000 Jews left in Poland. But there are more than 6,000 descendants of the Schindler Jews alive worldwide today. It's an incredible legacy.
The profound impact of individual choices in the face of absolute darkness echoes through generations. In the middle of the most industrialized system of cruelty humanity has ever witnessed, a deeply flawed individual used that exact same corrupt system to do the inconceivable. And it really leaves us with a powerful question. When the world around us is governed by brutality and indifference, how much power do we truly have to alter the course of history just by choosing to hold on to our humanity?